Yeah. Get excited, everybody. We are 45 minutes or so away from the start of UFC 297, the first pay-per-view of the year, and the show will close with the middleweight championship on the line. Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis, the second of two just absolutely incredible title fights. 0 Meshew stars for UFC 297.
Goose egg, baby.
But welcome, everybody, to the People's Pre-Fight Show ahead of UFC 297. I am Mike Keck. Now, normally, we would get the last bit of judgment on card ranking from E. Casey Leiden with the chair swinging, but he unfortunately is not feeling that well. So we had to call a little bit of an audible. And who better than Mr. Audible himself, Mr. No Gray Area, the Hot Take King.
Omaha.
Cannonball Kid, the Peyton Manning, the Woody Page of MMA fighting. He is Jed Meshew. Jed, how we doing? Just 45 minutes away from the stacked lineup.
I have a confession to make, Mike. I feel I'm not pumped. I'm trying to put the energy out there so you fake it till you make it. But last week, I was pretty pumped last week. I wasn't even working, and I watched all the fights on Saturday. I kind of blew off some social plans. It's haven't had fights in a while. Good card, ready to go. And then the week after, we'll have the first pay-per-view. And then I've had a little bit more interest all week long, but today it's just all right, well, it'll be cool in 5 more hours when we get to good fights. But until then, Malcolm Gordon, Jimmy Flick, woo! So it's
flyweight unders are back.
Flyweight unders are back, except for with an asterisk because of the weight miss. You always have to factor that in. Again, I'm not trying to yuck anyone's yum. If you're pumped about this, I'm going to try and bring that positive energy, y'all. I am. But to me personally, I'm just 6 p.m. The fights haven't even started yet, and we're going to have to work our way through some stuff before we get to the prime rib here of the meal. So I've been higher, but hopefully, Malcolm Gordon, Jimmy Flick will get things going, and maybe this football game can also be entertaining until things happen that are good.
Yes. Well, if you're new to
if you see me do this, please, that means I'm looking at the football game.
I turned the TV off here. It's in a weird spot, so I'd have to go like that. So I'll let you give me the play-by-play if something cool happens. It was 10-10 when I turned it off. The Houston got the special teams touchdown to tie it up. So that was the last I saw. I'm also in this hotel room in New York, so there's a chance, and it's kind of happening very slowly right now, that the chair I'm sitting in is going to slowly drop. Just shrinking. Ever so slowly. So I'm going to try to raise this thing up. It might happen a few different times, but we're just going to answer your questions. So put them in the chat. Let's make them positive. Let's make them fun. Let's make them fight related. Let's think. Let's use our brains. Talk about some things.
Wide open.
What happened?
3rd and 13, the Texans convert to a wide open Nico Collins in the center of the field.
After he had one of the worst drops I've ever seen, but he looks like he's got the hands back. So let's go. Let's start here. How stupid would fans and the media look if the main event stinks because they pushed for DDP to get the shot because they didn't want Rocky versus Myra to main event? Now,
I don't think this is true.
I was on the preview show touting this co-main event up a little bit. I have a feeling that it's going to be more fun than many people expect it to be. I think Mommy Rocky is going to bring in a little more than just kind of grinding her out against Cage. But as I am, and as I have been many times over the years, I could be wrong. But I don't think we're going to leave UFC 297 thinking, man, Rocky Pennington versus Myra Bueno Silva should have been the main event of this card, right? I don't see that happening.
I genuinely struggle to piece together a world where that outcome, I'd be yes, that should have been the main event. I don't even know, even if the main event is somehow boring, I just still don't know how you get to the women's bantamweight fight should have primacy here. The vacant title fight between arguably not even the 2 women who should be fighting for it. So certainly I agree, but your mileage may vary there. So yeah, no, I don't think there's any way that the media looks stupid for wanting DDP to fight Sean Strickland at this event.
Look, we said this after Strickland won the belt. DDP's best friend is his availability. And especially after the Hamzat Chimaev fight, if DDP was ready to fight in January, like that was his chance. And if they couldn't get Sean in this early, DDP probably wouldn't be getting this shot. So it's a big opportunity for him, and we'll see how it all plays out.
And also, like, you can't make that judgment after the fact. If somehow the co-main's sick and the main sucks, like, sure, I don't think that's very likely because I've watched all of the people involved fight, and I have watched Raquel Pennington fight. I have a pretty good idea of what the fight will look like. I've watched Dricus du Plessis fight. Pretty good idea of which one of those two people I'd rather watch engage in fisticuffs. So I think blanket no to that answer or question.
Going to the main event. With a win, who does Strickland call out if he wins? And if DDP wins, is he the automatic answer? My thoughts, at least for Strickland, is I don't think he calls anybody out. I just think he says, I don't care. UFC is going to tell me who to fight. Put me on 300, give me a bunch of money, but I don't think he'll have an actual name. But I do think DDP will probably call it Izzy.
Do you think Sean Strickland should call anyone out if he wins? Because I agree. I don't think he will call anyone out. But I also don't think he should. Like, I think it would make a ton of sense to fight Izzy at 300. But he beat Izzy. I don't feel like you should call out the guy you beat the fight before this one. And so unless you call out Hamzat for 300, which I guess you could do, but that doesn't, there's not like a ton of natural heat there. Like, this doesn't make sense. I don't think he should call anyone out. So if he does call out Izzy, I might dock him some style points for that, you know?
He's the guy right now. Like, he's the star of the division. And if he beats Dricus tonight, like, he's definitely the star of this division. So he really doesn't have to call anybody out because there's really like nobody available there that can kind of match that. I mean, Izzy to some extent, but he already beat Izzy. I kind of feel like that could
Alex
be the fight.
Pereira.
That would be interesting. Pereira's probably.
I would
be
accept
in
him calling out Alex Pereira, which would be quite funny.
It would be quite funny. Let's go to hell. Let's do the man dance, Alex. Can UFC 289 be repeated? Can all the Canadian fighters go undefeated tonight?
I mean, yes, but that's a big ask. There's like 9 of them. That's like a lot. Like, it's a lot to do it. And like, I favor Mike Malott. Marc-Andre Barrios is obviously an underdog, and I think that's right, though he can win, certainly. I know you have a lot of feelings about Garrett Armfield versus Brad Katona. Brad Katona is a favorite, can win. Charles Jourdain, I also think maybe live for an upset there. Saidi, who the hell knows? How that fight's going to go down. Julian Robertson. Like, it's just way too many of them to feel like it will happen. But, it wouldn't be impossible. Just highly improbable.
Over under 6.5.
Over under 6.5. Let me look at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6.5 is a terrific bid. I'll say under. Because I think there are several opportunities for them to lose. So, but 6.5, I think, is the right line.
Question: is there an under the radar storyline for this card? I think it's a pretty easy answer because no one outside of the hardcores is talking about the second fight of this 2-fight card in a lot of people's minds. But I think it's Arnold Almaz Evloev, even though it's on the main card and it's by definition not really under the radar. But I think with Strickland and DDP just stealing all the headlines this week, no one's talking about this fight, and it's unfortunate.
I just don't think there is one because, I think when you get asked this question, the answer is main event and then Alan Evloev, and then, I guess there's a women's bantamweight title fight also happening. It's just, no, this is like, there's a reason this thing has 0 stars, man. It's not a good card. There's not a lot of intrigue. This is playing to the Canadian base. I hope the Canadian crowd enjoys it and that their fighters all get the dubs that they, want. But this is objectively one of the weaker pay-per-view offerings in a hot minute.
How would you rate 297 compared to 289? So 289 to me was.
I have to look at 289 again. I'm not.
289. I think you and I were
off the top of my head.
I think you and I were kind of in agreement on 289, where with everything else going on and where it was kind of slotted in the calendar year, if you were going to skip a card, it was probably this one. But it was one of those cards that if you watched it, you were probably going to have a good time watching it. And that was a really fun watch, especially with the Canadians doing what they did and Mike Malott getting a big win and
We've
Just
got
Charles
four
Oliveira.
repeat fighters from that.
Yeah.
Mike Malott, MAB, Chris Curtis, interestingly, and then Yasmin Yazdavicius. So four repeat fighters. It's honestly pretty similar. Pretty similar card here.
Yeah. I do think this is going to be a fun watch. Mike, what
The other
happened to
one,
you? And you look more pale now. It's
I'd
the
say
light.
89 is better
This
than
light right here.
297, by the way. But yes, you do actually look a little bit pale.
Yeah, it's this light. It's the lighting in this room. I had to move some things around. This is the only way that it looked somewhat presentable.
Hey.
What else do we have?
Lamar's been sacked.
Oh.
I mean, it's at the end of the half. They were trying to see if they could get a play to kick a field goal. Took a sack, and no, did the Texans take a timeout? Or did Texans took a timeout with 24 seconds left? They're killing time. Got it. Okay. We're good. The half's over.
Thoughts on Sam Patterson's move to welterweight? He looked good on the Contender Series, but then he got murked in his debut. You have a bet on Sam Patterson, do you not?
I do. I don't feel wonderful about it, but I mean, it's just a reflexive bet of Sam Patterson had some hype before him, and then he got absolutely obliterated by Yanal Ashmouz, and then everyone was like, all right, well, this guy's probably not very good. I'm not sure that that's true. The Ashmouz thing, like, yes. Also, a little perfect stormy, like the way that he gets knocked out with the punch while he's falling is that's not going to happen every day of the week. And so I'm willing to give him a shot. I also think maybe his chin holds up a little better if he's not cutting the enormous amount of weight he was. Maybe the fact that he is a little bit slower hurts him less up a weight class as opposed to a lightweight where he, is definitely not a terrific athlete. Don't feel great about it, but it's a decent number. So I took a shot to see because Johan Linnes is a generic fighter. So I just like, yeah, let's see what happens.
What happens if Rocky and Mayer Bueno Silva ends in a draw, which there's a lot of recent precedent that a vacant title fight could end in a draw?
Oh, I haven't even considered that possibility, Mike. That would be the worst of all outcomes. It would be legitimately funny because I guarantee you. So what would happen? They would not run it back for the vacant title. One of them would get kicked out in favor of Juliana Pena, who will be ready by the time that they would run the title fight back. So it would be like the only time in UFC history we would see a title fight go to a draw and them not just immediately rematch it. Because they just
give Juliana the belt.
Yeah. They're just like, all right, Juliana, you're going to fight MBS or Pennington, whoever they end up deciding deserves it. And then that's how it goes, which would be hilarious, but it would be awful. Legitimately, what should happen if they go to a draw is we should all agree. They should do like they did with lightweight, like all those years ago. And a lot of you watching this have no idea. UFC had a lightweight division, and it was supposed to be headed up by BJ Penn. And they were like, BJ is going to be our lightweight champion. It's going to be great. So one little problem, his name was Jens Pulver. Jens Pulver beat BJ, and then Jens Pulver was kind of around, and then Jens Pulver bailed, and he went somewhere else. And the UFC was like, all right, let's put BJ in this 4-man lightweight tournament, and then he'll win the belt. And then he has a draw with Cal Uno in the finals of that lightweight tournament. Shouldn't have. BJ should have won the fight, but it is officially scored as draw. The UFC just like, screw it. We're done with lightweight. Clearly, the gods are telling us this weight class needs to burn in hell. Let's get rid of it. That's what should happen if there's a draw in the co-main event tonight. They should just say, we're out of the bantamweight business. PFL, you can have all of these fighters. We'll be okay.
Will Juliana have a Brock Lesnar moment in the cage after the co-main event? I don't think she's going to Toronto. I mean, she said it on the MMA Hour she wasn't going, so.
Feels like a miss for her, but sure. If she's not going, then no. It's pretty impossible. I don't know why you wouldn't go. It feels like you should go, but not my pig, not my farm.
You think Izzy's going to be there?
I don't know. I would say no, because that's also like a much bigger trip for him than it is for Juliana Pena to go to Toronto, and he doesn't need to, because theoretically if DDP wins, they'll call it out, and they've already done a face-off, so doing it again isn't there. So I would guess that he's not in attendance, but Pena should be. It seems like she's missing a window here.
I don't really think she needs it. I think she's getting it no matter what. So
She is, but it's not about getting it. It's just about trying in some way to build some hype. If she was there, they'd let her come stand in the cage opposite of the winner and talk on a microphone, which she enjoys. So I do think it's a missed opportunity.
Speaking of Evloev versus Allen, does Evloev need an emphatic finish over Arnold Allen to seal a title shot? A lot of decisions on that resume. I don't think so. But again, none of this matters until we get to next month anyways, because if Ilya Topuria beats Alexander Volkanovski, then Volkanovski's just going to get another shot at the belt. And then whoever wins this fight is going to have to wait anyways, maybe even have to get another fight. But if Volk wins, I do feel pretty confident that the winner of this fight probably gets the next shot. But do you think he needs to go out there and just spark out Arnold Allen in order to get that spot?
Nope. He wins, he gets it. It's exactly what you said. If Ilya wins, and Volkanovski, I assume, would want an immediate rematch and to do it relatively quickly, given how he's spoken. But maybe if Volk loses, if Volk goes in there and gets knocked out, perhaps he sits down and says, "We're going to take some time to recover. We rushed this back. We're going to take this very seriously." And then Evloev could get it immediately. But either way, if he wins this fight, he does not have to fight again. He will have a title shot probably by the end of the year.
Do you think people are underestimating Neil Magny? I feel like he's got a shot that people are not giving him.
I do not.
You don't think so? Do you think the betting line is right where it should be, minus 375, or do you think it's a little wide? Do you see value on Neil Magny?
I do not see value on Neil Magny. He's old.
Why?
He's just old, man. Like, that's just it. Like, Neil Magny has been around forever. You know, he's got the most wins in welterweight history or whatever. No disrespect. Losing to Ian Machado Gary is totally explicable. A Phil Rowe fight was tough, and I don't think Phil Rowe's particularly good. And that's just tough. He's been fighting killers for a really long time, and you just can't do this shit forever, man. He's 30, 36, 37. He's in his late 30s, and he's been doing this forever. And Mike Malott appears to be quite good. Like, Neil Magny could beat good people. I'm not sure he's beating Mike Malott. So, I would not bet Neil Magny here.
Who has more to lose in the main event?
That's a really good question.
I think it's DDP. I think it's clearly DDP. Because I think Sean, all right, I'll let you answer, and then I'll explain why I think it's DDP.
I'm just not sure. Reflexively, DDP is the answer because Sean's already gotten a belt. And so even though he has the belt to lose, which is terrible, I don't think anyone anticipates him being the next long reigning champion. And he's already made. He's a made man. He got the title. He's forever a champion. That being said, even if DDP loses here, I don't think he's far away from getting back into the title picture. Particularly because I don't think people think Sean Strickland's holding the title for a long time. So it's not like that's even there. I think I'll go Strickland just because it will be losing the belt. Like, he will lose the belt, and and the way it goes, because if DDP loses, there's a way he loses ugly, but not bad. Like, he just gasses out and Strickland just kind of controls him for, 3 of 5 rounds or whatever. If Strickland loses, it is more likely than not violently, because that is historically how he's lost and historically how DDP wins. So that'll hurt him it won't hurt him a ton. I frankly don't think either dude has like an enormous amount to lose, but I will say I'll favor Strickland, saying that he's losing a little bit more here.
I think it's still DDP because, especially with where middleweight is right now, if he goes out and just gets and loses tonight, if Izzy somehow gets the belt back and we get to that point, they could still insert DDP in there for a fight that'll probably sell and build to a point where people are going to want to buy it.
Or Whitaker.
There's another one.
Or Whitaker.
But I don't know if Sean, this is something like Rick, Shaheen, myself, and Casey talked about off air, after we finished the preview show yesterday. Because what Sean did at the press conference, I thought was super interesting because, I think he is top 3 press conferencers right now in terms of like fan support. He knows how to get people on his side. He knows how to get the crowd on his side. But everything he said to DDP about like, no, we ain't, I wrestle every day and I hate it. Let's go to hell. Let's fight to the
really
death.
Pointed.
It was really interesting. DDP was just kind of like, all right, dude. And DDP, all he said was like, I just want to be the champion. So like one of like the thoughts that it kind of gave us is like, does Sean even want to be champion? Because at this point, like, I think Sean just likes fighting. Like, I think he's happy fighting in the Apex. I think he's happy fighting in Toronto. I think he's happy fighting anywhere, whether the belt's on the line or not. I think he's just fine fighting. And sure, it's cool that he won. He'll always be a champion. He'll always have that win. He'll always have that moment. But I think Sean is so over right now that even if he doesn't have the belt, I don't think it hurts him all that much. You know what I'm saying? Whereas DDP, I think he kind of needs the belt more than Sean does. I know DDP is getting over a little bit more, but Sean is like super duper over right now. Like Sean Strickland is almost at a point where he can headline a pay-per-view without a title on the line. That's how popular this guy is at the moment, especially wherever he goes. He can get himself to that spot where at a press conference, it's all Strickland, all the supporters. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why I kind of feel like Sean, like if he loses, I don't think it's going to kill him. I think he'll be like, all right, I'll fight in 3 weeks at the Apex if you need me to. Like, let's go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a good argument. And I agree. I don't think he cares about being the champion, which is always a nice thing. But I also don't know how maybe he is insulated from that sort of defeat, but kind of this popularity has come about sort of in the past year. There are flashes of it with the Alex Pereira setup. But then as soon as because I remember that and being like, "Ooh, Sean Strickland's like kind of cooking a little bit at this press conference, making some things happen." Then he gets sparked out by Pereira, and it's like, "All right, well, we're done with that experiment." And then, to his credit, comes back next year, and has Fighter of the Year. I don't know to what extent just getting, dusted by DDP will hurt his brand. It won't kill his brand in any way, but I don't know if it will affect it or not. And I think with Dricus's primary goal being getting the title, it will suck. Losing will hurt him, but I don't think that losing is prohibitive for him getting the title. I think it's just a setback and that he's kind of just going to be in there. I don't think either dude has a ton to lose. They have stuff to lose. I just don't think either of these will be a catastrophic night for whoever comes up short.
Yeah. I mean, if a 300 spot is on the line, like that's a lot of money. That's a good amount of money you're probably going to end up pocketing. So in that respect,
I mean, that's the biggest, that is by far the biggest thing that'll be lost. The loser will not be main eventing 300 and getting the pay-per-view bonus on top of that for main eventing against Izzy at 300. Like that's a lot of money, but they both have the same amount of money to lose in that respect. So it's not like one guy's losing more. It's just whoever is losing that sucks.
Would you two consider a friendly bet if Jed loses, he shaves his head? If Mike loses, he can't shave for a month. Nobody wants to see any of those things. I don't think.
I have a very lumpy head and will never shave it. I considered it. I considered it for like a long time because like I would I wouldn't live shaved because that seems like that would be miserable. But like I thought about doing it just to do it one time and see. But one, there's always the fear that it just won't grow back. Like I don't think that would happen. But if it didn't, I know a guy who did that in high school. And then for the rest of his life, he's been bald because he shaved his head as a joke in high school and it just never came back. And I was like, I wonder if he just sits around all day and is like, what a misstep. I played myself and now this is who I am forever. And I don't want that. And then the other is just like, I'm really confident that I'm not saying I look good in general. I'm pretty confident I look real bad bald. So no is the answer.
What about Strickland calling out Paulo Costa if he wins tonight? Now, this is the name I was thinking of if Costa wasn't already fighting Robert Whittaker.
That's a bit of a blocker.
Yeah, but I honestly, if Costa wasn't booked right now, I think that would be like a really smart call out.
Calling out Hamzat, I could cook with. Like I
That's
don't.
a good one too.
Again, I largely feel that champions shouldn't call out someone unless they are specifically trying to elevate a contender for known reasons. Like I have long thought Alexander Volkanovski should have just called out like Arnold Allen to elevate a contender because that's how it gets there. But at the same time, you don't want to punch down. Strickland's in kind of a weird spot where Hamzat would make sense, but I also don't think it's necessary. He can just be like, I'll fight anybody on 300. Put God in the cage across from me. He's getting these mitts. Like, I don't care.
Yeah. Could do Strickland Colby too. Like the UFC would absolutely make that fight if nobody else is ready.
Oh my God.
We'll never know the answer to this question, but if you had to guess, over under 300,000 buys for this card.
Over. Pretty clearly over.
As well.
I don't know if we're getting 5, but I wouldn't shock me if we got 5. Pay-per-view cards are driven by the main event. Like we can talk about how the rest of the card is zero shooting stars, but for the broad public, it's who are the figures on the marquee, and that is what drives the interest. That's what drives the buys. It's why boxing pay-per-views are one fight cards with some other fights that happen. It's why you don't need to do what they do for UFC 300 to stack the card. It's just you're just selling on the top 1 or 2 fights, and this top fight is strong.
Yeah. This is Sean Strickland kind of breaks the mom test to some degree because I got a lot of like randos hitting me up, not randos, but like people I don't talk to all the time, especially about fighting, hitting me up, talking about how Strickland is a maniac. This guy's a fucking maniac, like out of nowhere. So he's reaching more of a casual audience. So,
I mean, yeah, he is absolutely getting out broadly for reasons that I would suggest aren't optimal, but, kind of one of those all publicity is good publicity. He's getting out broadly. Yeah, I think this will clearly do over 300,000 bucks, particularly because we've had a month where there hasn't been anything else going on. And, the UFC's schedule is now what's next week. Oh, it's a pay-per-view week, by the way. Whereas this has been the card that has been being built up since 296. And sure, there was a fight night, but it's not like they really advertised a fight night. It's just like, all right, well, the first pay-per-view of the year is this fight with these two dudes that got in a brawl at 296. So there's enough heat here. I think this clearly tops 300. I wouldn't be shocked if it got to 5, though I probably would bet for under 5, like 450 feels like
that's 450 was pretty much what I was thinking.
Feels like
will Dana announce new fights at the post-fight press conference?
If Strickland or DDP say yes, I've been saying for weeks, I think as soon as the main event is over, after they walk into the back, before Dana comes out to the press, he will go into the back room and ask whoever the winner, hey, how you feeling? You feel like you're okay? Cool. Are we good? And if they're feeling any type of like, I kind of hurt my hand, let me get an x-ray and see, then he won't. But like, no, feel great, ready to go. Whoever you want to do, Izzy, sure, 300, and then he'll come out and he'll say, Toronto sold out crowd, most attendance gate ever, but performance bonuses are this. Hey, who's got the first question? And then somebody will ask him something about it, and he'll say, yeah. So I was talking to Sean Strickland or Dricus backstage, and we're gonna go ahead and break some news. I never do this on fight night, but we're gonna break news. We do have a main event for UFC 300. So if they say yes, he will.
Yeah, and if Izzy's there, he might just get in the damn octagon with whoever wins this fight. So why was Alex Pereira at the press conference? Didn't look like he was there to support Sean. Do you think he's looking at the winner of this fight for 300 for the middleweight strap? You guys are awesome. No, I don't think so.
Hasn't he specifically said he can't make that cut anymore?
And why would he at this point? Why would he?
I mean, to be a champ is cool, I guess. But
like, if he's going to eye one of these guys, like, why wouldn't they just go up and fight him? Like, why is he going to go down? I
mean, he can have 2 belts at one time.
Yeah, but
I agree.
I don't care about that. When you see fighters like at these events, for the most part, if you kind of like look at their social medias and you look at sort of the UFC social medias, you see a lot of these fighters will do meet and greets and do all these things. Alex Pereira is not in Toronto on his own dime. He's getting paid more than likely to go out and appear and meet fans. And he wants to go watch fights.
He'll be the cage side dude. He'll be sitting there when they do look at all the stars in attendance. UFC light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira. They do that stuff.
Who will take the first step back, Sean or Dricus?
I think it's extremely likely to be Dricus, which if you read my primer, I have a primer up on MMAfighting.com, go read it. Shouldn't take long, and you'll be prepped for the main event. This fight strictly comes down to who walks back. Like if I were coaching either of these, and again, they're with good coaches who know what they're doing. So, I'm just some asshole with an internet connection. The only thing I would have said in camp, like literally the only thing we would have worked on is like, hey, you're just never taking a step back. I think that that's actually true for 99% of MMA fighters anyway, that every coach should explicitly train their fighters to refuse to step backwards. And if you get in a car crash in the center because the other dude wants to walk forward, I guess we're clinch fighting now, baby, because I'm just never stepping back because nobody in this sport can fight off their back foot for shit. They are all awful at it, like almost to a man or woman. They suck at fighting off the back foot. In this main event, more so than any other, like whoever is advancing is winning the fight. So don't back up. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
It's not hard. If you don't back up, they will collide with you. And if you're Dricus, that's good because then you're in a clinch tie-up and then you can do one of your sort of weird judo-y throws and get him to the ground. But like just backing up it's death. Like you cannot, whoever's backing up in the main event loses. And it seems extremely likely. Dricus has been backed up before. Sean very rarely gets backed up. Like he is going to advance.
Jed Cannibal Meshew. What underdog in the prelims looks most promising? But pick one.
Pick one. Let me pull up our DraftKings. Wonderful DraftKings. Use promo code the MMA Hour. Underdog bet on the prelims. I would not recommend the Sam Patterson bet I'm on. Like I said, I don't feel good about it, but it's there. I previously would have said that Ramon Taveras is actually a good one, but I'm now fully on team Surrey City. I don't care if I mispronounce that name. Fine with it. Because he's never back down crew. Let's go. Prelims. I don't hate the Armfield bet that you're on. Because Brad Katona is just doesn't inspire confidence in the way in which he fights. So that wouldn't be a bad one, I guess. And the rest of them I just don't love. No, I'll go Sean Woodson. Actually, Sean Woodson is my underdog bet that I would feel the most confident in. I've never been sold on Charles Jourdain. I know some people are very into him. I know that he has avenues to win here, certainly, but Sean Woodson, pretty good form lately. Has that sort of superpower of being really weirdly built and large for the weight class. And again, never been all that sold on Charles Jourdain. So plus 170, Sean Woodson will be my answer.
I have bet on Sean Woodson as well.
Houston just dropped a pick in the end zone.
Oh, there's been a lot of drop picks, a lot of drop balls. Just what I saw.
I was what did Lamar do here to throw this? Wow, what a stack. 4-5 line. Play action. Oh, it would have been a hell of a pick. I won't even call it a drop because it would have been a very good pick. He was a diving catch, so there's that.
Do you guys not have an issue with Izzy getting a title shot off of a loss and 2 losses in 2 of his last 3 fights?
I do, but whatever. I hate it. Like everyone who's ever watched our programming knows this by now. I think if you lose, you should not get an immediate rematch ever, unless the loss was not controversial, but like aggressively controversial to the point of an actual robbery or whatever. No, go back and win 2 fights to get yourself back in a title fight. I don't care if you rattled off 9 in a row like before then. No, just go back, win 2, prove you're here because you're as good as your last fight, and your last fight was an L. I think that it would suck that Izzy gets it, but that's the way this sport works. And I will say, at least in this instance, if you're going to do it, these are one of the ones that I can accept because there's not another clear-cut contender for it. Like Hamzat is probably the next guy up, like at this moment in time, but it's not like he has a big middleweight record to deserve it. He's just sort of a vibes bet in this regard. So, no, I think it would suck. If Paulo Costa goes out there and beats Robert Whitaker, he would be the guy who deserves it, but deserves got nothing to do with it.
Nope. Spinach obviously didn't hear the question. No one said Sean Woodson is a lock. They said like
No,
looks kind of like
yeah.
a valuable underball play.
Yeah.
No one said it was a lock.
There
I
are
do have
no
a bet.
locks on this entire fight card. I feel not like there's no bet on this card that I feel like super, super confident in.
I feel like the only thing that I feel good about it, and honestly, I don't even feel that good about it, is the flyweight under, which is not even like officially a flyweight under anymore.
That's true.
But I don't feel like that
make weight,
fight's.
boys.
Yeah, I don't think that fight's going long.
Probably not.
Yeah, we didn't say lock spinach.
Yeah,
Certainly didn't say
never. I will almost never say lock.
I mean, you shouldn't anymore. I mean, after the Valentino loss to Alexa Grasso,
I've learned some lessons.
That word has left your vocabulary.
Robbery. I was robbed by myself for being an idiot.
This is an interesting question. Dudes, how do we keep overlooking Jared Cannonier? He's on a winning streak. He has a win over Strickland, who was the backup fighter for 293. It is funny. And honestly, like there are times where I end shows like heck of a mornings when you talk about like who could be next for the middleweight title. And I would say 98% of those programs, I don't even mention Jared Cannonier's name, which is wild because he should be in these conversations. He really should. I apologize, Jared.
I don't, because it's intentional. I don't have any.
I mean, he's dinged up, but still.
I've seen Jared Cannonier fight for the belt. Don't ever need to see it again. I'm good.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
I think we solved that one. So, look, I think anyone who was like listening to the 276 post show will know that like I was much more hard on Izzy coming off of that fight, certainly than a lot of people, and more so than Jared, because, and my answer for the situations like this is always Izzy won, and that's what matters. Like that is the most important thing. But winning in style does matter. It is relevant and important to this. I am not going to drag Jared Cannonier because he lost. His punishment is defeat. So he can wear it. And this is where that comes in because I've seen it. I'm good. I don't ever need to see him fight for a title again. And frankly, he needs to give me a compelling reason to believe winning 2 quality wins, even if like maybe he shouldn't have beat Strickland or whatever, beating 2 good opponents the way he did. Nope. Like I need a compelling reason because the last time he was put in a cage with everything on the line, the entirety of his life's ambitions were in front of him and he offered that fucking stinker. Nope. Don't need to see it again. Just don't. You got to prove that you earn it. And 2 fights is not enough. Kill 3 people and then I'll agree. But I will never choose to have him fight for the belt because that fight was horrendous.
I'll tell you what, man. And I see some people kind of throwing this out there as well. And I completely agree. If Khamzat Chimaev is not fighting at UFC 300 against the winner of this fight, I think that's who Khamzat's going to fight is Jared Cannonier.
Yeah, that can make sense.
I saw somebody do that fight in Saudi Arabia. I could absolutely see that fight happening.
The Ravens scored a touchdown that I missed somehow.
No.
So
not really.
They're up 17-10. I mean, they were on the 8 or whatever. Oh, it's Lamar just coasting in, just walking through a sea of defenders into the end zone from the 12.
A lot of people commenting on the paleness. It's the light. I'm telling you. It's the light. I'm telling you. I look pale with the light, but there's some tannage going on. Not a ton. It is also winter time, people.
Buddy, I know. I was supposed to run 18 miles this morning. Some marathon training or whatever. And I woke up and I have Alexa as my alarm. And so it went off and was like, whatever time it is 12 degrees outside. I was like, yeah, I'm just not doing that. Just not going to do that at all. 12 degrees can eat everything. That's just trash. Ugh.
Yeah, it's pretty cold in New York. Luckily, it's a short walk over to the studio, which I'm going. I'll be heading there in about 7 or 8 minutes to meet up with good old GC and the crew for the watch party. Last thing before we wrap it all up here, as Casey and I normally do, bonus predictions, and then we'll run down our main card predictions. So who do you think? Who do you think will walk away with bonuses tonight?
Okay. Chalky prediction, Mike Malott getting a performance bonus. He has never seen the judges' scorecards. Magny's all a little bit washed. feels like that's an easy bet to make. So I'll go Mike Malott, going to get one, and I'm pretty sure I'm wrong here, but again, I've been just trying to manifest a better world for all of us, and particularly with some stuff that she said at the press conference yesterday. Anyone else catch that Rocky Pennington get like a little bit racist with the speak English to the Brazilian woman? Like speak also in Canada. Yeah, I was like, just bad vibes from Rocky this week. So I'm going to say Marbuena Silva gets a finish and thus gets a performance bonus. And I don't believe this in my heart of hearts, but again, manifesting good realities, main event for fight of the night.
Let me look at what I have here.
Dude, fight of the night is a hard choice.
This could be a night where like there is no fight of the night, and it's just like
could be
all the finishes because the crowd's like on fire and Dana just has a good time.
I think if you're gonna go fight of the night, I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna do Chris Curtis, Marc-Andre Barrios as fight of the night.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
That's at least competitive, and they will strike each other a bunch. So I'm gonna swap to that.
I will say that's a really good pick. I'll say Sadai, Mike Malott, and I'm gonna steal your fight of the night. I'm with you on that one. I do think Chris Curtis, Andre Barrios is going to be fun. It looks very middleweighty on paper. I mean, super middleweighty, but I can see it being a fun fight. Let's go to the main card predictions before we get on out of here, Jed. We'll start with the featherweight fight, one I'm very much looking forward to. Movsar Evloev taking on Arnold Allen. Will Arnold Allen take the undefeated record? Will he take that O away from Movsar Evloev?
Sure is. I am going out on a big old limb here. And as I look at the predictions I already input into Tapology, I probably should edit my performance of the night bonus winners because I have Arnold Allen getting a first round knockout of Movsar Evloev. I think this is going to be like Dan Hooker, Arnold Allen coming in, trying to make a statement. Movsar Evloev, we're all very high on him, probably too high on him. Almighty going to come send a message that he deserves to fight for the belt.
I'm picking Movsar Evloev. I think he's just super good. I think this is not going to be Arman Sarukian, Beneil Dariush, that like breakthrough moment, but it's going to be a breakthrough moment without a finish from Movsar. I think he's the kind of guy that like kind of fights to the level of his competition, and Arnold's really, really good. And I could definitely be wrong, but I kind of feel like Movsar is the guy, and I feel like he's got a real dark horse chance. I think I'm the only one. I know you have a futures bet on Movsar, but I think I'm the only one.
I also have a futures on Allen. I just doubled up. I said YOLO.
I put it in print and took a shot at Movsar ending the year as the featherweight champion. So we'll see if that happens or not. But I'm very much looking forward to that fight. I'm incredibly fascinated by it. We have Chris Curtis versus Marc-Andre Barrios.
Also, if you can still get the future line on Movsar, can you? Let me see if that's still available. What is it? Because the line I got was a peach. It's still there. On DraftKings, it is plus 1,800. So you are listening. Again, this is by no means a lock. If Movsar goes out and wins tonight, he is almost assuredly fighting for the belt probably before the end of the year, and you can get him at plus 1,800 right now. That's why I took it, and it's a pretty good bet.
It's a very good price, especially if he wins this fight.
If he wins this fight, that price is going to plummet to plus 6 maybe.
To where Sarukian is right now.
Like yeah, it's going to drop dramatically because he's clearly next in line if he wins this fight.
Chris Curtis versus Marc-Andre Barrios, a fight both of us feel could win fight of the night tonight. I'm picking Chris Curtis. I think he gets it done. I think he gets a late finish here, round 3, TKO.
Ooh. I just went Chris Curtis by decision because that's historically a decent bet with Chris Curtis. I have no idea what's going to happen in this fight. I'm slightly favoring Curtis, but I kind of feel like maybe I should have just backed the Canadian fighter and just see what happens. But Chris Curtis by decision.
When Chris Curtis says Canada is like his second home, it's absolutely true. When he says he was the number 1 ranked pound for pound fighter in Canada for many years, 100% that is the truth as well. So he is not he's fought in Canada a million times against Canadians. He knows what this is like. So
fought at 289.
Yep, he fought at 289 as well. So I think he will be okay, and that should be a fun fight. I think we're both going Mike Malott here. How does he get it done?
I chose poorly. I said KO round 3. I think I should have picked submission round 3, but
That's
KO round 3.
That's what I got. Mike, the only bet I have on
I
this
made my choices fairly hastily.
Yeah. The only bet I have on this fight is part of a parlay. I picked over a half a round as part of a shocky ass proppy parlay. All right, Jed. The people's main event for the women's bantamweight title. A new champion, at least, is expected to be crowned. Raquel Pennington against Mayra Bueno Silva, who leaves Toronto with the most coveted prize of women's MMA.
Legitimately, when this fight was first announced, I was just like, MBS, let's go. The closer we've gotten, the more I've looked into it. I actually kind of think Pennington's about to win the most Pennington-ass decision you've ever seen in your life. But I don't want to live in that world, Mike. That's not the world I want to live in. This is a year of truth, justice, and freedom. And so Mayra Bueno Silva, submission round 3.
Oh, it's Raquel Pennington. Raquel Pennington's going to win in a fight
Truth,
that we're going to
justice, and freedom, Mike.
We're going to go on the post-fight show. We're going to be like, you know what? Fight wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. They scrapped in there for a little bit. I hope that's the case.
Genuinely hope you're correct.
And in the main event,
you are, but I hope you are.
For the UFC middleweight championship, Mr. Canada, Sean Strickland, defends against the #1 contender, Dricus du Plessis, who just had a icy ass mic drop at the ceremonial weigh-ins with his final thoughts. Who gets it done? Will Dricus du Plessis accomplish his dream of becoming a world champion on the road to what he really wants to accomplish, being the greatest middleweight of all time? That's what he keeps saying. Or will the Sean Strickland just incredible run continue?
Dricus du Plessis, KO round 2. I suspect it will come from ground and pound. Everything in my head says that Sean Strickland has all the tools to win this fight, and if he deploys them correctly, he probably will. But the thing about that is if he doesn't, then he won't. And also, even if Sean Strickland fights like optimally, he can still lose this fight because that's the nature of how he fights. I've said this a million times on a million different shows. If you're giving me a fight between a dude who is overwhelmingly likely to win a decision versus a dude who is overwhelmingly likely to score a finish, I take the finisher every time, because being perfect for 25 minutes is hard as shit, and being right once, it's that old adage about cops and criminals. If you're a criminal, you got to be right every time. The cops only have to win once. DDP has to win once in there. Sean Strickland has to win for 25 minutes. He can do it. We saw him do it against Izzy. I'm just going to assume that DDP can pull this off, in part because he's so freaking confident that he sold me on it. He is so dismissive, not in a way that's like, it's a really weird, arrogant line to walk of being dismissive of a man without sounding like you've overlooked him, but just he is seeing through the soul of Sean Strickland. So like, oh no, I know exactly what's about to happen. I'm going to win. It's the difference between confidence and faux confidence, at least from the outside. It looks to me that way. So I'm just going to keep riding with my boy DDP.
Yes, Sean Strickland might need to be perfect for 25 minutes or as close to perfect. But I think he's only going to need about 18 minutes of work, because I think he's going to finish DDP in round 4. That's what I have. Sean Strickland.
That'd be cool.
Ground and pound TKO, round 4. I think he weathers the storm. I think he turns it on. I think he starts to gain some momentum by round 3, maybe even hurts DDP in round 3. And I think in round 4, he gets him out of there. So I can't wait. And plus, one of the big factors to me, Eric Nixick's getting a second shot at this dude. He was 0-1 against DDP with the Brad Tavares fight. Now he gets another opportunity. And just sometimes when you have a conversation with somebody, you're just like, this is going to be interesting. So and this is also I think all the vibes are with Sean here. I just feel it. I just feel like
really?
Everything's coming up Strickland. Yeah.
I feel
like
the exact opposite of that.
Really? Wow.
I feel like all the vibes are DDP. His energy just feels so much better to me. Also, I've been sitting on this thought for like a minute, but I do think we're really not addressing the frequency with which Sean Strickland fights as a legitimate factor in this. Like I know that Sean Strickland is very active, but the history of MMA says that fighters who are very active in this regard, they lose pretty regularly. Like that was one of the talking points after Donald Cerrone's lightweight fail against Rafael dos Anjos is, that was his 5th fight in like 14 months or whatever. That's just a lot of fighting, and you're not going to peak all. Like this is Sean's 4th fight in 13 months, 5th in 14 or 15 months, right? Like the Pereira fight, like he has just been really, really active, and that's really hard to compete that many times over at this sport. It's just tough.
Yeah, I think the argument for Izzy more is it's one thing to be active and fight a lot. It's another to main event pay-per-views and be that active and have to deal with all the responsibilities that come with that. This is only Sean's really 2nd time. His other main events are at the freaking Apex, which is basically just like another fight week.
Still, it's just a long time. It's a lot of time to be in fight camp and to break your body down over and over, and particularly with the way Sean trains. Like
that's true.
I think there's very much a possibility that we're not getting the best Sean Strickland in there on Saturday night, because one, if he was hurt, he would still fight anyway. That's just who he is, which I've also thought maybe that was what and again, this is full speculation, but like if it came out afterwards that, I was actually a little bit hurt, and that's why I was trying to bait DDP into not wrestling in the same way that TJ was like trying to do that against Aljo. Like would that shock anyone? It's just, again, this could be nothing. This could be stone cold trash, but I'm always at least a little cognizant of guys who have fought 5 times in, the past 15 months or whatever.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we will see how this all plays out, because the fights are about to start. It'll still be on ESPN Plus at 8 o'clock, but I think they shift over to ESPN News because of playoff football action. And then it's pay-per-view time at 10 p.m. Eastern. But the watch party, my friends, 9:45 p.m. Eastern time. Myself, GC. It's going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. I missed it. But dear Meshew and Stars, I think this is going to be a fun watch. We'll be back after the fact to react during the post-fight show. We have AK and Jose, both boots on the ground in Toronto. So post-fight interviews,
double the boots.
Winners. You'll have the press conference, everything from that aspect. And then AK and I'll be back on this here channel, 10 a.m. Eastern. So get your coffee ready tomorrow morning for some matchmaking. On to the next one. Let's strap in, everybody. Let's get ready. Buckle the seatbelts. I have a feeling things are going to get super duper weird with this card. UFC 297 kicking off right now for Jed. I am Mike Heck. Enjoy the fights. We'll see you on the watch party. Enjoy, everybody.
Love y'all.
I'm trying to find the screen. There it is.
First down, Ravens. The fight's really starting.